Okay, here's the head after I ground it around the valve seat area here, which is all these lips right in here. Just smooths up this area right here. So you can see how the lips are now. You don't have a lip there, so the air comes through, it breathes right around the head now, and it doesn't have to bounce over the wall basically to get into your motor. So it picks up the airflow quite a bit. So it makes a big difference just doing that. And we got to be very careful about not nicking the seat there. So I got two different things I was using here. First I had the big one here, which hits on the seat before I want to. So then we switched over to the smaller one, which will actually get in there without hitting on the valve seat area that matters. Now that little gray area right there is where we don't want to hit, and you can see the little nicks right above it on the top of the seat. That's what this grinder does when it just kind of bumps up against it. You hear it hit the steel, you stop. If you don't stop, then it grinds into where you don't want to grind. You'll be very, very careful. If you put a valve in there to protect the seat, then you can't grind that area because the valve's in the way, so unless you grind the valve way down. So I'm going to go ahead and do this one. So let me get this camera set up and then I'll show you. You can watch while I do this one. Okay, we got the head all set up here to grind on it. So I'm going to go ahead and use my smaller of my two cutters here. So you see real light pressure, low RPM, and only cut what you want to. First you knock off the high spot right here on top. You always go to the worst place first. Okay, then you got to get in there, get it right up next to the seat, and knock off the lip right next to the valve seat itself. That doesn't want to do that, of course. Kind of hear when I just hit the steel and you stop. Just keep blending the aluminum. That time I went across the seat where I didn't want to. Got the vise hitting me in the back of my arm. Problem with videotaping, you can't do what you want to do right. I'm using a fairly dull cutter, that's why it doesn't do much damage. It doesn't cut very fast either. Alright. Flip it around to the other side. Exhaust. Get over our intake valve here again. Find a spot where you can put it and work with it. Sportster motor mounts work really good for this. See how the Sportster motor mount has a lot of different surfaces to push against. So you get all kinds of areas that you can hold against to hold uneven parts up. best tools for porting I've ever come up with. Works good. All right. Alright, there we go. So you can see how that one's all blended in right now, so nice and smooth edges. So that's how you do that. So that's going to go relap a little bit right where I lightly kissed it with the grinder and see if I did any real damage. I don't think I did, but if I do, I'll have to re-kiss it lightly this stone. So now I'm going to go ahead and clean these up and then we'll see about assembling. Okay, we're back on our thunderheads here. I'm going to go ahead and check our valve clearance up in here, so what kind of clearance we got. See if I have to cut back these guides a little bit for our length. So I have to have room for seals in here and for 1/2 inch of valve lift. So basically you take all the parts and just do kind of a mock-up assembly here. See if these are relatively the same or not. 800. Yeah, they're pretty close to the same height, so that's good. Okay, they had a valve shim in here, so we'll stick that in there. Get this little adapter piece here for the collar. And then the valve guide. There we go. Put the spring shim in there. Stick our collar in here with a keeper. Alright, so there's our mock-up right there. So I'm going to go ahead here and measure this. And let's see how much clearance we got in here between the seal and the collar. So this is a 1/2 inch wide. So if you look to see how much clearance you got between that and the guide, we got about another 3/16 extra room. So that should be enough room to run the seal in there. The other thing I want to make sure to see is what's going to hit the collar or the keeper. It's going to hit first. So it looks like the collar is what's going to hit. Okay, then we look at the install height. Hasn't really changed much, but we'll just check it anyway. So take our measurement, look up here and see what the install height is. Looks like around 1,450. So that means I need to have these. I need to go check these for coil bind. See what they got. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in my vise and crush it and measure it, and I'll come back and see what it is. Okay, I went ahead and put in the vise, collapsed all the way down, measured the distance. So we're about 880 on our collapsed height. And we're about 1,450 open, or in here for clearance. So all you do is a little bit of math. You take the height of your spring, which is 880, you add 50 to it, and we can just go ahead and round up to make it easier. We'll add 70, that makes it 1,950. We got a 1/2 inch of lift, so that makes it 1,450, which happens to be what we have. So we have enough clearance. So as long as we got 450 here, we're good to go. Actually, we're good to 430. So that's 1.430, which is about 7/16 of an inch. So looks like our overall heights are going to be okay. Now the only thing I got to worry about is how high the valve seal sticks up. And so I'm going to have to get some valve seals here and measure them and see how much they stick up on these guides. And I might have to shorten these guides down maybe about a 1/16 or so. So I'll check that and let's see what happens. Okay, I just went and got my seals. So I just have my standard K-line seals. These stick up about 100 to 125 above the top of the guide. And we got about 180, so it gives an extra 50, so we got plenty of room for seals. So that's not a problem. So all I got to do is check to make sure all 4 of these have the same install height, and we should be pretty much good to go on these. So, go ahead and take this back apart. Okay. So we know what our load number is. Lock that back up. So I'm just going to take my measurement here from the base of the valve guide up to our seal lip. So it looks like we're about 1.300 there. Go to the other side over here and measure this one. Looks like we're right in the same area. So that's good. And we just do the same thing with the other head here. Make sure everything is in the same general numbers. So we have about a 20th thou variable we can run, but right now we're everything's about within 10. Okay, this one is right at 300. And that one's good also, right at 300. Okay, these are all pretty darn close to the same height, so that makes it pretty easy to do. Alright, so we shouldn't have any problem with that. Let's see, I'll probably just go ahead and check my TD overlap clearance just to make sure everything's good. So we already ran this motor this way, but he's putting a new cam in it. But I don't know what he has for a cam, but I'll just give it some generic lift numbers. We'll throw about 200, 220. I'll throw a 225 intake lift in here. And we'll throw a 200 exhaust. That's a decent, pretty hot cam. And we just look at our clearances down here. You can see the clearance between our valves is really, really tight. But we do have clearance in here. So if his cam has a really big duration numbers to it, we're going to have to be careful. So I'll get more information on what his cam is, but for now he should be fine. That is a runnable number the way it was, but just real tight. He's got some pretty good springs in here, looks like, so he shouldn't have a problem. If he's running a lot less lift than a TD, like a 170 to a 190 TD lift, well, you have plenty of clearance. Okay, so that's all straightforward. So from here, we'll just move on to our assembly. So let me get cleaned up and get back to that.